Call this meeting to order. Grand meeting of the Androscoggin Historical Society fall meeting of 2011. Welcome, and there'll be more welcomes to be given. It's a pleasure to pass this gavel on to Annette Doherty, which will announce the speaker and maybe a few other things. She's the program chair. Thank you very much for coming.
Oh! This is a first. I don't need that. Everybody's so well behaved. Nice crowd. Thank you for coming out. How many of you attended the first Irish program of John's? Okay, that tells us something, doesn't it? Wonderful. How many of you are members of the Historical Society? So we have a supply of the new brochures here tonight. I don't know if some of them were on your chairs. They have an enrollment to become a member of the society right in here, and it tells you all the forthcoming programs for the new school year. And of course, this series of Irish in Lewiston, Auburn is the 1st of September. So you know there's another one coming, and another one, at 3 different venues. One of them will be here again on the 27th, which is a Tuesday evening. There's one at Museum LA, and there's one at the Lewiston Public Library. So they're at different times, on different days, to make everybody happy, we hope. And I think you're going to find them all interesting. So I'm glad that you're here tonight. Then in October, our program is going to be a tour of the Garcelon Cemetery in South Lewiston. Do you know where that is?
No.
It's out on Ferry Road, and it's kind of if you're going to the Cornhouse Keller, which is now the Chickadee, and if you don't turn in there, but if you turn right at that big intersection, that's Ferry Road and Garcelon Cemetery is out there. So that's on a Saturday, October 22nd, a perfect time of the year to visit a cemetery. Autumn. Any of you who are genealogists or into family history, you know that autumn is a wonderful time to do your work in a cemetery because it's so beautiful. The colors are great. So I hope you'll pick up a brochure for the coming programs. The other thing that we've done on the board, there's a few of us here tonight who are on the board of directors. We've decided in the last few months that we would not introduce an admission fee for our programs because they've always been free to the public, and we would not introduce a fee to using the research library, but we're going to encourage people to use our donation boxes. We have one at the chair near the door on the elevator, and there's one over on the display case over there near David and the camera. So if you feel like you are moved to make a donation to the society to help support our programs, we really would appreciate it. And if you turn in at any of the future programs, or you want to mail in your membership to join us, we would appreciate that too. So pick up one of these programs. So all of you, most everybody was here today. But still, just for the few people who weren't at the last program and you don't know that John is a local Auburn boy, like many other people, left home and traveled the world, and in his case it was because he was in a military family mostly, and then he's wound his way back to Lewiston, Auburn, and at I think I can say at a more mature age, without implying that John's old because he's not, but at a more mature age he got interested in his roots. And his Irish roots are what's leading his research and his presentations and his work and his new book, and that's true for a lot of us as we matured and some of us got old and then started digging into our roots. I think you can identify with that. So we're very pleased to have John here tonight to do the next segment of the Irish in Lewiston, Auburn, which are the Irish patches, which some of you might know a little bit about, some of you might know a lot, some of you might know nothing about the Irish patches that we've had as part of our history. So I welcome John and I welcome all of you to a wonderful program. You want to lay down a little bit? Or?
No, I think it's okay. Can everybody see? Can everybody see the screen? Okay, folks in the back. Is that image sharp enough for you? Okay, that's great. All right. Well, welcome. First order of business are Jerry Clifford and Barbara Doyle Felter here this evening. Not yet. Okay. Good enough. Okay, well, this is the second of a series of 5 talks. It's based on a book of the same name, Androscoggin Irish, and it's a book that I began working on about 6 years or so ago when I landed back in Auburn. Did grow up in a military family. We were all over the United States, all over Europe, and except for the years we were in Europe, we would always come back to Maine from wherever we were and visit with family for a couple of weeks with my grandmother over on James Street. And when my father retired from the Air Force, we moved to Lewiston. So I actually graduated from Lewiston High School. And I'm currently working as an ed tech at Edward Little High School. And the neat thing about that is that over the years, between assignments and everything, I've gone to every school my mother went to, except for one, which is amazing considering the short periods of time that we were here. But between assignments, going and coming from Germany, went to Webster School and what's the other one? Washburn. Yeah. So now that I'm teaching at EL, we're almost there. I've got to find a way. Perhaps when they rehab the Lincoln School, the Lincoln Street School, I can move in there and get them all. Yeah. This work is my name's on the cover, but it's the work of an awful lot of people. So there's a lot of gratitude to be handed out, and more people that I can really name. But I will do thank the Androscoggin Historical Society both for sponsoring the series as a whole and for hosting 2 of our presentations, but also for help with research and resources, encouragement along the way. Russ Burbank has done a fantastic job of publicity for the series, so obviously, and also Betty Young for setting us up with technology, and David as well for filming this evening. Also, thank the Irish American Club of Maine. They've provided funding and support as well. They're headquartered down in Portland for the most part. If you're Irish and you're in Maine, it would be a good organization to join. They're on the web. And the club is it's a cultural organization. If you want to actually be a little more Irish and maybe learn some Irish dancing or just hang out at the Cayleys that are held down in Portland, you would certainly be welcome. You don't need to know how to dance. I'm living proof. And
we're not just in Portland.
Yeah, I know. It is a statewide organization, but I guess a lot of the cultural programs happen in Portland. Maybe we're working on doing some here. But also the Maine Irish Heritage Center down, which is in Portland, also is another great organization that's provided help and assistance along the way. It's in the old St. Dominic's Church. They're building a nice library of resources, so if you're doing research, it's a place worth checking out. And they also sponsor a number of different programs throughout the year. And they're also online and worth checking out. Okay, well, the Irish didn't invent Halloween. They did invent the jack-o'-lantern, and they did invent trick-or-treating. And so that's why we have jack-o'-lanterns on the screen tonight. And it's as we're getting close to the holiday season. Seemed appropriate. There are many different times and ways to be Irish. And tonight we're going to talk about Irish neighborhoods in Lewiston and Auburn. This is an unfinished work. I got started in this talking with my grandmother, getting her genealogy down. When I landed back here, I started filling that genealogy out, trying to learn the actual stories of 6 of these people's lives. And I could find no ready resource on the Irish. There's all kinds of stuff about the French, but there wasn't anything there, you know, to speak of to find anything on the Irish. And there were bits and pieces here and there that I found, you know, looking for articles and whatnot. There just wasn't a whole lot there. And, but I got the impression as I was going that there was a lot to find. I just kept finding new things here, there, and everywhere, with a lot of tips from friends or acquaintances, and some anonymous tips dropped as well. So eventually it dawned on me that I needed to collect all this stuff together. And at the time I had helped with the opening of the Portland Freedom Trail, which documents the African American community in Portland, and they had produced a book about Maine's African American community, and the notion behind it was that they had a visible community, that these people weren't invisible. You know, oftentimes we overlook minority groups, and it occurred to me as I was working on the trail there on the opening day that this is pretty much what we were dealing with here in Lewiston and Auburn. There's this Irish community here, and lots of it. You know, at one time the Irish, this was the most Irish, you know, Lewiston was the most Irish of all Maine towns at almost 25% in 1850. And as I got going, I mean, and as we'll see in the course of this series, the Irish presence is here, it's physical. You look through a phone book, you'll still find tons of Murphys, McCarthys, and O'Briens, O'Neills, and everybody else. We just don't speak up the way some other groups do. But the Irish are here, and the Irish heritage is here, so we've got to start on documenting it. It's not complete, though. I don't pretend that the work I've done is at all complete. It's just a start. I'm hoping that the book will be useful to those of you that might do some family research. You'll have a head start on where I was. You'll have a reference to look to, so that when you run across and find that your ancestor, like my great-grandfather, lived on the patch, you'll know what that means. You'll know where that was, and understand how their life filled in. That's really how I got started. I found my great-grandfather in the civic directory. Everybody else had a street name next to their name. Oak Street, Spring Street, Summer Street, whatever. And Jeremiah Murphy had on the patch. Okay. Looked at some McCarthys and Murphys and some other Irish people, and sure enough, on the patch, on the patch, on the patch. Had no idea what that meant. Started asking questions. Nobody could really seem to tell me. At about that time, you know, a book came out on the Irish in Maine, and a reference was made, and a basic description of what a patch was made, and so I figured that out. But along the way, I've discovered that there were many more than just one patch. Okay, well, in Ireland, this is a picture of a fairly typical Irish cottage. Many of you have been there. You've seen this scene, perhaps. You know, 150 years ago, it would have been thatched roof, probably, and maybe not even that long ago. They're small buildings. As you can tell, they might have 10 or 12 people sleeping in a place like that, and there's a reason that it was small. Ireland was pretty much owned by the British, and they were the ones with the money. They owned the estates, and they would rent out land. They wouldn't sell it, they would rent it out or lease it out. But of course, as time goes on and you have 10 or 12 children, well, as one generation passes on to the next, well, there's less and less land to divvy up. So there wasn't a lot of the land resource to divvy up, and certainly not a lot of wealth at that time. The other reason that the houses were small was that they had to pay rent on these places, and if you made any improvements on your house, it would directly result in a higher rent. So if you're just barely getting by on a very small plot of land, and understand that Ireland at the time was, and still is to a large